Hi dear students, so welcome back to continuation of previous session. Okay, so if you are watching this video first time, please find a previous video link in the description of this video. Okay, so as we were discussing this first project, so we are going to predict the house price prediction, right? So as we discussed before session, we found that out of three problems, we found this comes under regression type of problem. So there is a algorithm called linear regression in data science. So we are going to solve this problem using linear regression. Okay. So here directly I have written the code, friends. So I will explain each line to line. So first what we are going to do is we are going to import libraries, friends, which means first of all why do we are importing? Because you are not going to write each program by yourself. Already lot of enough work is done for you. 90% of the times is just use that program name, just simply that call method, automatically it will do everything. So just you want to know which program or method you want to call so that your job will be done. So you need to know just which method or which program or module name you have to call just to do your job. So it will be very simple, friends. So for that import means that ready-made software will be downloaded to your system so that all the functionalities available in that software it will be you can utilize, friends. So for that these and all are the imports. Let us go through one by one. First we are importing pandas library. Okay, so how do we import pandas? Pandas is a library name as pd. Why you are telling as pd? Because every time I don't want to tell pandas dot method name to call, will use pandas dot I don't want to keep. So simply I will say pd dot to call any method provided in this library. That is the reason. But you can remove this also and try. So wherever pd I am giving, so pandas you have to type every time, friends. That will show in the system, friends, after this session. So this pandas library mainly it is used for pre-processing of the data. So for pre-processing, to process all our input data, we are going to use this pandas library. In that many methods. So we will be discussing whatever required as part of this project, friends. So you remember pandas is for pre-processing of the data. Next library is import numpy as np. Here again this numpy as a shortcut. Here pandas a shortcut is pd. Same way for numpy we are giving shortcut as np. So that wherever numpy dot while calling, simply you can say np dot that method name you can tell. So it will be very easy to say np instead of numpy every time. That is the only reason, friends. Don't get confused. You can remove as np also and try with the numpy dot initially for initial 1 or 2 days. Then after that instead then you can try as np. That way we'll understand what exactly significance of this. So please I suggest remove this two and try. Anyway I will show you in the program while I do that without having this as, then you will understand clearly the difference with and without. Okay, so this library is for numerical calculation. So all the numerical type of calculations will be done in numpy because this is one of the most efficient library in data science. Also, friends, see this and all we are writing these programs using Python. As we discussed in previous session, data science problem can be solved using or Python or SAS. So in our class we have selected Python as a programming language due to its more job opportunities and also more frequent developments are happening in Python. Due to several reasons we are using Python, friends. So if you are good at one language, that is enough. So Python is the language. So in this Python there will be normal software will be there, I mean normal libraries will be there, and also data science specific libraries will be there. So you need to learn all normal Python libraries. That is not required, only very basics like just data types, list, set, like minimum if you know it is enough, friends. That also we will be covering some videos, already few programming related we covered. Okay, that is enough time being, friends. But your focus should be libraries related to data science. These are the libraries related to data science. You no need to bother about other libraries which are not part of data science. Okay, because only data science related we are going to work, right? So the most first library we will use is numpy, that is for numerical calculation. Then the next library we will be using is pandas. These are the two most libraries will be used in data science, friends. Here, NumPy is there, right? In Python also there is something called list, but this list is not very effective, friends, because list what it will do is like it will maintain its data type also. For each value it will store. That is the biggest drawback of the list, and also it is not very efficient, friends, because NumPy is developed backend using C programming, That is the reason it will run very fast, because almost like it is like a binary language, like C language it is using. So it will very fast, nothing can beat. So it is like a native language, we can say, like it will work like a native language, friends. That is why there are several reasons why NumPy is very efficient, friends. So you can forget about list, that is a default library in the normal Python available, friends. So never do mistake using list. So always use NumPy for quicker, efficient way of storing as well as efficient way of processing as well. Okay. So we are importing NumPy library here. Next, there are three libraries. Basically, these are to plot the graphs. So to plot any kind of graphs, when you draw graphs, to see the relation between input variable and output variable, to see the relation, we will be using the graphs actually. Okay. Here there is a library called import matplotlib. That is matplotlib dot. Inside that they kept something called pyplot. So inside this module there is another sub module called pyplot. So this pyplot we are importing, because sub module you are importing, so you have to give main module name dot pyplot, so that sub module will be loaded. This everything it is very difficult to write this full lengthy this one. So simply we can say plot, write plt as plt. So whenever you want to write like this, instead of that we can write plt. How you are writing pd dot np dot, same way you can write plt dot, instead of writing this full lengthy module sub module everywhere. So this is for plotting graph. Then one more famous library called as cborn, seaborn. So this also, instead of cborn big length, we can say as sns. For cborn shortcut you can write as sns. And also there is no hard fast rule to write sns or simply sn. That is up to you, friends. Don't confuse. Simply some name we are giving for our easy purpose. It is not mandatory to give exactly sns, or you can give sn also, or but try to give more friendly, anybody can able to understand. For example, see pandas means p and d is taken from the same words only. Pd means to understand, numpy means np. Try to give as anybody generally they find it with the alias. Okay, it should make sense, then only others also should understand our code. That is the objective. Okay. So cborn is another good library for graphing. Then there is something called percentage matplotlib. Same thing actually. Same thing. Percentage matplotlib inline. What this command will do is, we are going to use software called Python notebook actually. So in Python notebook, what happens is, any graph if you draw, what happens is that graphs will be not visible actually. It won't display graphs. So to avoid the display of the graphs, we have to give this one percentage matplotlib inline. Inline means it is like here only to display, means in the instantly you want to display the graphs, so we are going to use this line actually. So we can experiment without this line and check also. So this is basically to display all the graphs, we are going to give this line, friends. So basically these three will go together to plot graphs. So that's all, friends, about imports actually. So to very quickly summarize for about imports, so what we have done, we have imported pandas library for pre-processing purpose, and we have imported numpy library for numeric calculation. Then for plotting purpose, we have imported matplotlib.pyplot, cborn, and we have given inline, friends, so far. So now importing is and all done. Now first thing is, so they have given a data called USA underscore housing.csv. Actually, this file you no need to like this is like a default file available actually, that we will be seeing in the next class, that is in the previous next section we will see. Okay. So there is a file called, so for this business problem, the csv file, csv means what, this is comma separated value. Don't confuse with excel file. Excel is different. So excel means dot excel will come extension, but whereas dot csv means comma separated value, csv. Okay, it is little bit different, it works. So usually you will get files as a csv, not like excel file, because data is very huge, it has specific format to follow. Okay. So your file is given as like this, USA underscore housing.csv file. So this file you want to load into some variable so that you can process it. For that, in pandas library, that is PD, there is a method called read underscore csv. So what this method, this is called as method or function, which means in Python already software there is a program is written such that simply if you give input as CSV file, automatically that will read and store that, and it will give back the, means it will store, actually it will store and give back the as some reference as object. So it will read this this will read CSV file and it will return back into some object. So when it's giving back whatever CSV file we are giving to that, it will read, and in a, what this PD will do is it will convert into a data frame. Actually, see here it will read CSV file into data frame. Data frame means, so we'll discuss that it is like something like a matrix format. Actually, all your data will be stored in a matrix, like variable 1 value 1 2 3, variable 2 value 1 2 3, like that. Means in a specific formatted way. Data frame, data frame means in a perfect aligned way it will store the data frames. We will come back to that. Okay, time being, you remember the CSV format is little bit different, and pandas after it reading it will store in a format called data frame structure. So that is a different data, different type of formatting compared to CSV. That is the reason we are using this method just to read CSV and store in a format which pandas require. So that we are storing in an object called df. What happens is after the statement is done, the CSV file will be read and put into a variable called df. So this variable we have to say data frame, because this method will give output as a data frame, input as a CSV file. That is the reason now this df is your data frame. Now all your CSV file, everything came into df. Now onwards you don't need to refer the CSV file, directly you can use df everywhere. Now, so this is to read, right? To read the input we have used read, this read underscore CSV method. Okay, now your CSV file is read into your df. Now suppose you want to see top 5 records, you want to display top 5 rows of the data. Again you no need to write any program, already in Python software they have written and kept with a name called head. Simply if you say what is your data frame object, df, if you say df dot head, if you say, and why it is brackets, because to represent it is some method or function or some software to represent, we are giving parenthesis, which means it is not simple variable, it is some method or module or some program is written to represent that, we will use parenthesis here. Means we are calling head on top of this object. Then what it will do, it will go to the CSV file, and head means 5 rows. First row value 1 value 2 value 3, second row, like that all the 5 rows what it will do, so it will display here so that you can see. Okay, first input variable this data is like this, second variable like this, so that way you can visualize your top 5 rows, top 5 rows you can visualize. Okay, about the head. Then after that df dot info, so this is another method given, so you can see different type of info. So in the next programming section in the laptop I will show what type of information it will display. Here only values it will display, here info it will give different type of information. Same way like info, there is another method called df dot describe. Here also it will give different types of statistics. Okay, like average and different types of statistics, max, mean and all that. That also we will see in the like next class in the laptop. So this and all about viewing the data, like so to quickly summarize till here, in pandas we are using read underscore csv method to read the file. Then after that 5 records to read, to watch, we are using head command. Some different information about this data to see info command. Like some statistics like min, max, average type of thing to find, we are using describe method. So this and all to view the data. Then after that, if you want to know how many input variables or how many columns are present, if you want to know the name of it, for example like area, whether like I have not remembered exact variables names, we will see. Okay, what are the columns available in this data set, to see we can use simply df dot columns. So this will give the it will give all the, to see all columns you can use this command, it will display all the columns. Okay, all the input variables I mean. Okay, next, now we are going to see the graphs related commands here. Okay, here like SNS. See, we are using like C bar as SNS, right? So you don't need to say C bar, we have to say SNS, right? That's why we are telling SNS dot pair plot. Pair means two, right? So it will draw graph with variable 1 with respect to target, that is output variable. Now variable 2 with respect to target variable. So basically it will compare each input variable with the target and it will show the relation. Okay, that we will see in the laptop about that. Then dist plot, this is like distribution plot. So this also, but distribution plot we are drawing, but for this plot you have to tell what is your output or target variable. We have to find price, right? So this is your output variable for us. So what is the data frame for us? DF. But you want which variable? Only price, because price it is a column like a string, so we have to give in single quote, otherwise we will throw error. It is single quote. Data frame means always if you want one column we have to give like this in square bracket. Okay, be remember friends. So if it is method means parenthesis we are using, but if it is data frame, so you have to use square bracket, not parenthesis like this. This is a square bracket. Be cautious, and also single quote or double quote is required. So we are telling that to this plot our output variable is this, so draw the distribution plot. Okay, that we will see. So this is about these two are to see the relation between your input and output variables. We are going to use these graphs. Okay, now next thing is, if you want to check the correlation between this, so for correlation to understand better, you can go through some YouTube videos. So correlation is basically how the two variables are going to affect the output variable actually. So for that also in the pandas, that is for in DF, there is a method called CORR method. So if you give CORR method, it will provide the correlation matrix actually. And also not only in pandas DF, also in SNS library also we have something method called heat map. What it will do is very nicely it will show like a matrix type of graph, it will show this heat map. For that you have to pass some input variable like this. Whatever df.corr you found, right, that everything you have to pass as first argument or first parameter you can say. Then comma annote is equal to true, means annotation is true. So we have to give annotation is equal to true. So we will see without annotation, with true or without true, we will see how it works. Okay, so very quickly friends, to give very quick brief summary here. So since this is you have to predict a price, so it is a regression type of problem. So since that's why we are going to use linear regression for this problem. Here we are using Python language to solve this problem. Here first library is pandas library for pre-processing we are using. Then numpy we are using for numerical calculation. And to draw graphs we are using matplotlib, pyplot, cbar, and inline we are using to display in the notebook. Then from the pandas we are using read CSV file to read CSV file into data frame format and store here. Then to see top 5 records we are using head method, and to see different information about your data we are using info method, and to see your statistics like min, max, average and all we are using describe method, and to see what are the original columns available in your data you are giving this df dot columns we are using. And to draw the pair plot we are from the C bar and SNS we are using pair plot command, and we are passing your data frame. And to distribution plot to draw we are using from SNS only this command by passing our target variable. And to find the correlation between the variables we are using CORR method. Then same way heat map method we are using for this one. Okay.